here at Marrow Marketing, based in Moncton, New Brunswick. Thank you so much to NBCC Oasis, The Oasis Show, and specifically Clarissa for inviting me to join you all today. Thanks to you for tuning in. And I'm just really excited to have a little bit of a chit chat with you this morning. So if you have never, I'm just looking at my phone to make sure I'm live here. There I am. Awesome. So if you've never heard of me and Marrow, I'll give you a bit of an intro before we get rolling. If you have any marketing questions at all, also, I teach marketing. I don't know if you noticed. So you just drop those in the comments below and I will get to them. We've got 20 minutes together, so I will get to your questions as well. So Marrow is a marketing agency based in Moncton. We focus on communications and content marketing. That's really our bread and butter. So when we say communications, we're talking brand communications, strategic brand communications, not necessarily crisis messaging. And I'm clarifying that in case anybody's like, no, that's not our bread and butter. Our bread and butter really is strategic brand communications and content marketing. And what do we do in that? With that, we actually teach that and those principles to small business owners, just like a lot of you. And we do that coast to coast from PEI all the way to BC, and a few American clients mixed in as well. So we have various programs that we deliver where we're able to teach all of the kind of skills and frameworks and techniques that we use for our clients. We're able to teach that to business owners. And that's really what we spend most of our time doing these days. So thank you so much for being here and watching along today. So Clarissa told me that she started to do this show, which is really kind of neat. So she's showing up weekly, I believe, twice a week, because I saw Emma was here on Tuesday, but multiple times a week, having these sessions so we can have these conversations about being a business owner through these times. Now, I have the luxury of being, a few weeks into this. Being early and creating content at the early part of this was a lot more challenging. And so we have some time behind us. So today I'm going to share some of the things that we've done as a business and just kind of tell the story of how we have navigated this situation. And I welcome your questions, concerns, comments about anything that you might be experiencing as well. So here we go. So the first thing that not only us, but we have a lot of clients that we're working with through this. So we have clients that are in our programs right now, or we also have a membership group that is a paid monthly membership, and that is a group of entrepreneurs that we work with as well. So we had to really, really start with a deep listening. And this is what I recommend that every brand do right now, is really get courageous with deep listening to your audience about what is on their mind today. Because you may have done some really good exercises and research and understanding what's on your client's mind, say 2 months ago, but it is not 2 months ago anymore. And the interesting thing is, our behaviors, our behaviors change when we are in crisis or fear. And so depending on who you serve, depending on who your audience is, if they are, and it's very likely that they are in a state of crisis or at least fear right now. So their behaviors and their responses are not going to be typical. They can't be. We're not wired that way. So when they're coming from crisis or fear, they're going to respond to any content marketing, any promotions differently. That doesn't mean they're not going to respond. But it's our responsibility as business owners and brands to deep listen and really figure out what's on their minds so we can adjust accordingly, okay? So, and I'm going to give you some more examples of things we have done as a result of our deep listening, and hopefully that can inspire ideas for you. So number one, deep listening. And that does not mean, also, just real quick, if you were like, right before this happened, we were about to start doing customer interviews with our buyer persona. So we were about to get on the phone and spend half an hour asking kind of deep questions about a new product that we wanted to develop. We paused that. Because when I say deep listening, I mean observing what they're doing, not asking them necessarily questions that are going to shape the long term. We need to understand that listening today is listening for a moment in time, and how they behave today, how they react today may not be how they're going to react in a month or 6 months. So I don't want to invest what we were going to in a product development call for the long term of my business, when I know that our clients, their behaviors, their concerns, their fears, their motivations today are not necessarily their long-term answers. So just want to leave that there. So we got to really think about this as a moment in time when we do our deep listening right now. So take that data that you can gather. What are they afraid of? What's motivating them right now? What are they struggling with? How can you support them? And understand that is not a forever answer, but it is probably the most important thing you can do right now to be able to show up and serve your customers. So that's what we did for step one. So we did the deep listening, and we found out, and this is not going to surprise you, that a lot of small business owners are transitioning to showing up on live video at a rate that we have never seen before. And if you're like, I don't know if that's true, Natalie, well, here I am. Right? So here I am on a live video on your Facebook page. So here's your evidence that that is actually happening. Now, what was very fortunate for us is that we actually spent the last year developing a small course on Facebook Live. And so we had developed this course, but we hadn't recorded it or launched it yet. And we weren't sure when we were going to do that strategically. We just didn't know when that was going to be the right time. So we'd shelved that. And so once we did some deep listening and we realized that our audience was trying to figure out these tools on their own, we went back to that course. We said, okay, this is what people want right now. What can we do with it? So the course was about Facebook Live. We cut it in half. We took all of the Facebook specific components out of it. We made it more about live video in general, how to show up and build connection on live video. And we created a 4-week course instead of an 8-week course. And we were able to get the price down, because another thing that we heard from our audience was obviously, costs are, like, everybody's afraid. We don't know what revenue might be gone right now, or we don't know what revenue is going to look like next month. So we said, okay, let's get this as affordable and as lean as possible, our minimum viable product, and get it out there to the market to help today. And the thing that was really important for us with that was that we were watching people, like small business owners, really trying and struggling in some cases. So we said, okay, what can we do to support? And so we brought that to market. We launched it with a free webinar, and then we sold it on the end of the webinar. Now, another thing that's really important, when we did this free webinar, sometimes I think we've all been there. I mean, like, comment below if you've been there. You've taken a free webinar and you're all excited to learn something. And then you go through this 1 hour and you don't learn anything. And then you realize you've just been sitting through a 1-hour sales pitch, right? Like, like, I've certainly been there many, many times. And so it was important to us that if we're going to show up in any way right now, we are giving value. So we created a webinar, the 4 ways live video will transform your business, because what we really wanted to do was help business owners see they can show up somehow right now, whether it's on Facebook Live or Zoom or whatever it is. So we created this webinar that just really guided you through the options available for your business. We made sure there was value in that. And then at the end, we created an offer that was, hey, if you want to learn more about how to show up on live video, you can come take this course. Now, that all came from listening to our audience. That didn't come from how are we going to make revenue right now. We're making some revenue from it, no question, but it's not a huge driver for us. It's good, and we're very, very grateful for it. But we really stepped back and said, how can we show up in a way that serves? And how can we do so without giving everything away? Because the other thing that I think is happening, and I'm seeing a lot of our clients feeling a lot of pressure to just give everything away for free. And, ultimately, we do have businesses to run and bills to pay. And we do have a responsibility to our other business owners that can't operate right now to try to generate revenue if we can. So we can generate revenue right now, and we can spend that revenue in our local economy. We're choosing to support locally based businesses. And so if you have that opportunity yourself, I really, really encourage you to consider, like, if you're being judged for selling anything or charging for your products or whatever right now, to do your best to push that judgment aside and not hear it. We're all being judged for a lot of things right now. People are behaving unusually because they're afraid and they're in crisis. And I really encourage you not to let that stop you. I've been judged. I don't know anybody who hasn't been judged for something ridiculous over the last couple of weeks. We can all see it all over social media. So, okay, so that first thing we did was the deep listening. The second thing we did was we really pivoted our product, right? So we said, okay, our product is ready. This product, we're going to change it. We're going to lean it out. We're going to launch it now. Now, this is also the same time that we launch our biggest revenue generator. And we do it twice a year. And we had this launch all planned out. And that is the Marketing Lab, which is our signature program. It is the biggest driver of revenue in our business, the biggest single product that we sell. And it is an in-person program. So we show up physically. It was kind of one of the last things in our business. Most of our business is online. It was one of the last things that we show up physically and interact in a room with other humans physically, okay? So the Marketing Lab applications, we open applications for 1 month. We always do it this way. Then we close them. We send out acceptances. And then we run the course for 2 months in person. And so that course is going to be available, like we're going to be we're going to be teaching it in May and June. And so as the time to launch applications got closer and closer over the last few weeks, it became abundantly clear that we were probably not going to be encouraged to be meeting in person for May and June. And so while having the Marketing Lab as an online program was kind of a someday dream of ours, something that we always kind of hope to do eventually someday, it wasn't something we were executing in our business because we knew that the Marketing Lab in person really worked well. And so we were really scared of innovating this product into an online product. And my fear is making it look like other programs. One of the things that I love about the Marketing Lab so far is the connection that the participants get together. And so there was a lot of nervousness and fear about launching the Marketing Lab into an online program, but we have no choice. And so we sat down and said, okay, how is this going to look? And turns out it was a 15-minute conversation. We were able to reorganize the content. So usually we spend 3 hours, a half day in class once a week. We go all morning and we go all in. Well, you can't do that on live video. People can't sit and watch 3 hours of live video and be engaged. They just can't. And so if we ask that of people, then what's going to happen is they're not going to get the same value. So we had to split it up into 2 days a week, into shorter time slots. And we had to find a system that we're going to bring it online with. And then we had to think about our price point, because our price point, is quite significant for the Marketing Lab for most small business owners. I mean, it's much more affordable than lots of other programs, but it's still an investment. And so we had to really think about what is an appropriate price point right now that will deliver value. So that was really, really important to us. And so I'll just actually be straight up. I'll give you the numbers. So the Marketing Lab generally, in the in-person Marketing Lab, the rate is $1,900 plus HST for the whole Marketing Lab for standard. And then we had a VIP option that was $2,900 plus HST. And we have been offering it at that price 4 or 5 times. And so it was a consistent price that we were able to get in our local market. And that was great. But a couple of things about keeping that original price that we really wanted to take into consideration. I'll be honest, I'm nervous about bringing it online because of the stories that I tell myself, right? So anytime I launch anything new, I don't like to launch it at the price I think it's worth because I'm nervous about people getting value. And then once we've done it once and we get feedback and we see if people had value, then we can go to the price, and test the price I think it's worth. But that's just something that I have to work through. And if I don't do it that way, then I don't want to launch the thing and I get in my mindset and I stop myself. So taking, even though it's a program we've delivered 6 times successfully, taking it online now is a new format. So I've got all the butterflies in my stomach. So right away, the first thing I'm doing is saying, to my business partner, okay, we got to lower the price because that's what I do anyway. And she goes, okay, well, let's go back to listening to our market and make sure this is a research informed decision, not a narrative in your head informed decision, which was why it's why she's in my life. I mean, she helps me a lot. So, we got back to it. We looked at everything and we felt really comfortable lowering the price. And we lowered the price to $1,200 plus HST. And I'm going to tell you why. So I was like, okay, great. I feel good at that price. You feel good at that price. High five. And I was like, well, what if we do $1,197 just because it's right under $1,200? I mean, these are the conversations we have privately. And she looked at me, and this is one of the other things that I want to really communicate today. And she goes, Natalie, the first time we did the marketing lab, we didn't do it at $1,900. We did it at $1,200. And we always promise our early adopters that it will never be cheaper than they got it. And she goes, so I don't care if it's $3 cheaper, that's off brand. And I was like, no, you're right. So we're offering it at $1,200. Now I want to go into that story a little bit, because the thing is, right now we are making decisions and we are innovating, we are adapting. And that is really, really important. But we are not in this situation forever. And so if you are able, I really, really need you to think about the big picture of your brand and keep your promises. So if you have shown up as a brand consistently over time and said, we stand for this, I want you to dig deep and try and find a way to serve your audience, but continue to stand for what you stand for. Because when this is over, you're going to want to still stand for that. And so I'm so grateful, obviously, that she was, even though it was $3, I see in the comments, Amber Richards is like, I'm an OG lab rat. So Amber was in our first lab, the $1,200 lab, the first time. And so it would really pain me right now. I would have made that decision in the moment. It would pain me now to look at Amber, even if it was $3, and know that I didn't keep that promise. So it's really important right now as we're reacting to what's going on in the world and we're trying to find creative ways to serve our customers that we do keep our promises, because this is not forever. It's a moment in time. And we need to be patient and think big picture, as hard as that can feel sometimes, okay? Now, of course, there are outliers and exceptions. I understand that. But really, for the most part, you got to really step back and think about, what do we stand for? What is the impact we make? And what are we not willing to compromise on? And that was one of those things that we just really wanted to stick with. So we talked about deep listening. We talked about innovating our products and adapting them and changing them, but still staying consistent with our brand. And then finally, because I have 20 minutes only and we're at 17:48, only 20 minutes is a lot for a live video, FYI. I do this all the time and I talk a lot. So the final thing that I want to talk about is shifting your online content as a result of what you hear during your deep listening. And so I'll tell you real quick. So we have a membership site called Content Circle, and that is for people who graduated from our other programs, who are alumni and want our support to continue. So it's a monthly fee, it's a small fee, it's a small group, and we show up in there weekly with some kind of support or content or teaching. Usually we are teaching content marketing. Usually we're showing up with, here's how to optimize Instagram stories. Here's the best way to use Facebook Live. We show up with lessons like that generally. But what we have learned through the last 4 weeks is that, while it might be fun to be distracted by things like that every once in a while right now, the deep listening has taught us that a lot of these small business owners really need the most help around mindset right now. And so we've been showing up and doing a lot more mindset content, a lot more emotional regulation content, a lot more content on the stuff that's going to help move to the next step. Because they joined that group. Yeah, they joined to learn about marketing, but they joined for support as entrepreneurs. And the group itself has shifted. So it's less about learning tactics, and it's so much more about a safe place to have real conversations about our fears and motivations and what's going on. So in that very safe space with walls and boundaries and it's a secret Facebook group and all of those things, we've shifted how we show up to be able to try and help our audience who's feeling a lot like us move to the next level. So I want to close with this kind of like last thing. There's a lot of opportunity out there right now. There still is, even if it doesn't feel like it. But there's also a lot of noise out there. And I think we all feel that. We're all seeing a lot of noise. We're all seeing a lot of judgment. We're seeing a lot of, this is the time where we could be coming together, but we are seeing a lot of division as well. It's a really challenging time to be navigating the online world, yet the online world is kind of all we've got, right? So I just really, really encourage you to have, to try and find the courage, I guess, to listen to, your heart, and to understand that other people are scared. And that when people are in fear or crisis, like I said before, their behaviors change, and those behaviors might be temporary. And so I'm like, here I am, like with my, my like heartfelt moment, but I just ask that we take some time to give each other more grace and to give brands more grace. And my job is to help entrepreneurs have the courage to show up and make content. And I'm watching some of the things going on online. And if you guys are feeling this too, I mean, you're entrepreneurs, you're small businesses, I'm sure you're seeing it. It's scary to post content right now because there's a lot of people out there that have a lot to say about everything anybody's doing. And I just really want you to understand that there's a lot of people in your shoes. There's a lot of people feeling the same way. And I've got your back for sure. And so if you're a small business and you're showing up and you have the courage to create content and to post on social and to be there for your audience, I have your back, and so do so many people. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, because I'm at time, please just leave them in the comments. I'm going to come back this afternoon and check if there's anything there, and I'll be happy to answer. And of course, you can follow us over at Made Marrow here on Facebook. And I actually do a live video like this once a week. On our page, it's either just me. Today, it's just me. I'm teaching something. Most days, I'm interviewing somebody else, but it's every Thursday afternoon. And I would love for you to join me. Okay, bye, everybody. Have the best day. Take care.